What's up, MELD Nation? Welcome to Dapp Central, your home for everything blockchain and crypto. I'm your host Fareed. As a part of today's video, we've got some breaking news when it comes to MELD and a brand new node sale for what they're labeling or calling the zkBanking nodes. So without any further ado, we're going to talk about the two types of nodes that are currently available. There's a dynamic node. There's also a static node. And then also want to go ahead and differentiate between the brand new zkBanking nodes and the existing proof of stake nodes that allow for you to delegate your MELD in order to support their DeFi network or their DeFi ecosystem. As always, if you do enjoy updates like these, please make sure to smash that thumbs up here on the way in. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this covering MELD, consider subscribing to Dapp Central. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure to leave those down below. Moving right on in here, we've got the zkBanking node network officially announced by MELD, aiming to provide zero-knowledge proofs for fiat banking. So I'm going to break down exactly why we need these nodes, how they play a pivotal role here in the off-chain side of things for MELD, and exactly how this is an opportunity for you or for me to benefit, support, and also grow your contributions to the MELD network. So let's take a look here, and I want to go ahead and leave the official links to everything that I'm going to be discussing down below. I always recommend you guys check out the documentation for yourself, but the zkBanking nodes are here to provide three separate key features. Number one is proof of debt. Number two is proof of funds. And the number three is proof of payment. Now, backing up here, I've covered MELD for quite a bit of time. I've got a full dedicated playlist. Make sure to go and check that out. But MELD is bringing or building the Web3 banking stack. So this not only means that they're providing or building out their own network and doing things on chain, which is obviously verifiable and immutable, but they're also building an off-chain stack as well with on-ramps into their MELD network or into their MELD ecosystem. So this includes their neobank, right, which allows for you to create a bank, basically onboard or on-ramp fiat, and then from that banking entity directly onboard into the MELD network. And then you can do the same or the opposite in reverse, where you might hold assets on chain and you want to offload that into real fiat, and therefore you can also off-ramp using their neobank. So the current nodes that we have available, I want to touch on those first, and those are proof of stake nodes. Now, for anybody who isn't aware, Cardano is proof of stake, and MELD actually started on Cardano. And when MELD moved to Avalanche, they've actually also adopted a proof of stake model. So what this means is that any of the 26 current validators online for the MELD network are able to gain delegation based off of how much delegation they currently have. That's going to basically determine the amount of luck that they have when it comes to minting blocks, therefore being rewarded and supporting the MELD network. Now, if you aren't aware, MELD is taking a slightly different approach when it comes to how they incentivize the proof of stake network. And so historically, we've seen a huge issue when it comes to conflict of interest, when it comes to node operators, and the fact that a lot of node operator rewards or stake pool rewards are directly tied to how much engagement or transactions have been submitted on a particular chain. So, for example, with Cardano, a stake pool operator benefits when there's more activity because those bits of activity generate transaction fees, which then go back to those pool operators. Now, as Cardano becomes more valuable, that obviously makes it a profitable business for the stake pool operators. But anybody who's actually making a transaction is paying more, right, as a transaction fee as time goes on. So in order to sort of break this particular spiral here, or this dependency, what MELD has basically done is said, hey, we're going to use our lending and borrowing protocol, which is our bread and butter, and 20% of that revenue that comes in from the lending and borrowing protocol directly goes back to supporting the node operators. That means that on the MELD blockchain, anybody who's interacting with it from an end user perspective no longer has to worry about increasing or increased gas fees as the protocol and the network matures in the future. And so I've actually been playing around on the MELD network. I've been doing a lot of swaps here for some meme tokens. And I've had a wonderful experience. In terms of gas, it's been extremely low, and it looks like that'll be that way forever, especially as things mature. However, from a node operator's perspective, they're still able to grow as long as the lending and borrowing protocol continues to grow and earn revenue. So they've sort of changed the incentive model there. But the reason why I'm even bringing that up in the first place is because that focuses or touches on the first set of nodes that MELD introduced into the community. So these operate, again, basically like stake pools. This is the first set of nodes that I wanted to highlight, which are completely different and completely distant. I want to use the right word here, from the zkBanking nodes. So these are two separate types of nodes, and that's why I wanted to quickly highlight that. Now, if you want to find out more about the proof of stake nodes, I'll leave the links to this particular page down below, but it's available at nodes.meld.com. You can see that we're currently in epoch number 46 with 26 nodes online with nearly $7 million worth of MELD currently staked to all of these different nodes. So that's the first set of nodes, the proof of stake nodes. Now let's dive into the zkNodes, which the sale has officially kicked off for, and I'll be sharing the links and details for that here in just a minute. So the proof of stake nodes are used to manage the DeFi side of things, everything that's happening on chain. However, we still need verification for transactions taking place off chain. This is where the brand new types of nodes come in. Now, zk proofs allow for the verification of transactions without necessarily having to reveal a lot of the underlying information that was used to come to that particular conclusion. So it's a very efficient way to verify things without disclosing too much privacy. However, it is resource intensive. So things, for example, like debit payments, credit payments, or even just balances in transfers, right, between banks, there's no way to verify that right now using zk proofs. And this is where these new banking nodes come in. Their job is to basically process everything happening on the fiat side of MELD and to basically capture that in a zk proof, again, preserving privacy, and then actually publishing that information on the proof of stake chain. So again, I want to take an opportunity to just quickly plug in the official documentation website. This is where I was able to grab this particular graphic from, but let's quickly just break this down. So you've got the banking stack here on the left-hand side, where you might have transactions from party A to party B for $100, 200 euros, or 10,000 of the Japanese yuan. And right in the middle, you have the process and the conversion of the banking transactions, which these are all fiat-based or all off-chain based transactions, being incorporated into a Merkle tree and then a zk rollup. Now, once this is actually done, again, none of the personal information here is captured. That's actually going to be minted and committed to the proof of stake blockchain, which I just mentioned used the similar model, or use a similar model to Cardano staking. So hopefully that makes sense there. Now let's talk a little bit more about some of the details for the actual sales and exactly what we can expect. So as it stands right now, the official sale has just kicked off, but there's two types of nodes that I want to highlight here as well. So jumping back in here, we have the static node, and then we also have the dynamic node. Now, diving into both of them, first and foremost, they will be captured as NFTs, minted and preserved on the MELD blockchain. And we can see here the type of node at the very top, and then we can see the yield and the value and when they actually begin to start to accrue rewards. I'm going to dive into that here in just a moment again. Next, we have the dynamic nodes, very similar layout and look and feel for the NFT itself. Now, there's a total of 37,500 of these nodes that'll be available for sale, and the sale has officially kicked off. So if you want to find out more about the actual sale, you can visit the official website, which is available at nodesale.meld.com. You can accept the terms and conditions. And then immediately here, we have the dynamic nodes, which are currently already selling. And then we have the static nodes, which have yet to actually begin selling. If I'm not mistaken, these should be coming online, and they should be available in the next 3 to 4 weeks. That was what Ken mentioned during the last or the latest Twitter space. Now let's talk about the dynamic nodes first. So these are already live in terms of sales. We can see that there's already been 121 minted out of 35,700. And I think I may have said 37,500 before, so I do apologize. We can see that they'll be providing a return of anywhere between 120% all the way to 1,500%. Now, backing up here, these rewards will be paid out in MELD. So I do want to highlight that. And the dynamic nodes, their performance and their rewards paid out in MELD is all directly tied back to how much network traffic the MELD proof of stake chain has been able to generate. So in a particular period, if there's not a lot of activity on the MELD network, your dynamic node will not pay out as much as the static node would. However, and conversely, if there's extreme adoption for MELD, then you may actually be better off with a dynamic node, given that the rewards are directly proportionally tied to how much activity takes place on the MELD network. Now, the dynamic nodes will operate for a total of 5 years, and the rewards, again, will be in MELD token, and those can be claimed quarterly. The price for the dynamic nodes is fixed, and so each of these right now is going for a total of $250, and you can pay using USDT or USDC. As long as you connect your wallet, you can select via Wallet Connect. You can go with MetaMask, NuFi, Coinbase, etc. Once you connect your wallet, as long as you have the USDT or USDC, it's a pretty simple process to go and actually pick up one of those nodes. Next, we have the static nodes. So the static nodes also earn rewards quarterly. However, this is based on a fixed annual yield. And again, the rewards are paid out in MELD. Now, these will run for 3 years compared to the 5 years for the dynamic nodes. And there's actually a whitelisting process that you have to undergo in order to get access to these static nodes. So we can see here that with a fixed APY of 48%, these MELD zkBanking nodes provide fixed and predictable yield for 3 years. Now here, instead, what they've done is applied a tiered pricing system. And so what this means is that there's going to be a total of, let's see here, 30 different tiers, each tier having an allocation of 1,250 MELD nodes. And the price increases as time goes on. So for anybody who participates early on, they're going to be able to pick up one of the static nodes for $80 a piece. Again, using USDT or USDC. And then as time goes on and more people purchase and sell out each of the different tiers, you can notice, or you will notice, that the price increases. Now, because the yield is static, you can actually also see that the returns do decrease because you're paying more upfront for each of the nodes. So keep that in mind. You're sort of, you have the ability, I should say, to go with the dynamic node where if network activity isn't really there, you might not make as much, or you can go with the static approach where you know that you're getting a fixed amount, but in the event that MELD blows up with the static node, the rewards will not change. So I did want to quickly highlight that there. Now I mentioned the whitelisting process. As you guys can see here, you can't actually purchase these. You do have to go ahead and actually click on the whitelist button. Going ahead and doing so allows for you to enter your wallet address. Once you've done that, you're added to the whitelist, and you can only purchase using that particular wallet when the static node sale kicks off. We did hear from Ken that the team has already sold, or at least whitelisted, 10,000 of these. So that means that there's only really about 20,000 that'll be left, with about 1,500 already being committed to going to the MELD community. So those are some of the biggest updates that I want to highlight that I wanted to highlight as a part of today's update when it comes to the banking nodes. And if you just want a better idea, right, as to how this entire thing works, and then if you want more details about the actual sale, there is an official documentation page, of course. Links will be left down below. This breaks down some of the forecasted network yield for the dynamic nodes. And then we also have some of the forecasted yield here for the static nodes, which again will be selling out in that tiered fashion. Now, as we get ready to wind down today's video, again, if you guys have found any portion of today's video to be helpful, I'd appreciate you if you could smash that thumbs up. If it's your first time stopping by and you want more content like this, consider subscribing. And last but not least, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and leave those down below. What I did want to quickly highlight here is the integration of NFTs2Me on the MELD network. So again, I mentioned earlier, I've been playing around on zkMomi, the DEX, and one of the tokens that has popped up recently has been Pepe. So it's the MELD branded version of Pepe, and they actually had inaugural OG NFT mint, and that was actually done using NFTs2Me. Extremely simple process. Just had to connect, make sure you had enough gMELD in your wallet and that you had enough of the tokens to purchase the asset. But the minting took less than, I want to say, 10 to 15 seconds once you had your wallet actually connected. We've seen additional NFTs, NFT mints popping up on the MELD network. And so I'll be keeping an eye out on that, but I want to take an opportunity to briefly highlight the fact that MELD has also integrated NFTs2Me. As I get ready to close out here, Cardano just got listed on DEX Screener, but I mentioned this in my prior update that MELD had also gotten an integration on a DEX Screener called Defined. So from here, we can see all of the tokens trading on the MELD network. Of course, you got MELD, MEPE, AVAX, RawDog, ADA, USDT, USDC, Hive, UMSU, MAPE, excuse me, and so many other assets that are currently available here. And so if you want to find out more about the MELD ecosystem, you want to get integrated, this is the one-stop shop place that you want to check out. And as things go, on moving forward, from an accessibility standpoint and a visibility standpoint, being listed on Defined will be a key thing. And I say that because a lot of people may want to get access to MELD and MELD ecosystem tokens, but they may not necessarily want to actually have to deal with bridging and actually creating and managing their own wallet for the MELD network. And a platform like Defined actually takes off that barrier or removes that barrier, allowing for anybody to trade MELD tokens or MELD assets directly from their platform. So that will do it here for today's video. I did want to quickly highlight the fact that I will be participating in the node sale. I think I'm going to get a mix of the dynamics and the statics. The statics provide you with a fixed amount of income, so you can sort of rely on that month over month or quarter over quarter. But with the dynamic, right, in the hopes, which if you're watching this video, you're probably bullish on MELD, in the hopes that MELD does outperform, the dynamic will definitely be the better pick moving forward. Now, if they don't do as well as people think, or maybe just takes a little bit more time, then again, you may not necessarily be getting the same yield that you would be with the static. So you may need to run some of your own numbers to figure out which or how many of each type of nodes that you want. But generally speaking, I think that you can't necessarily go wrong if you take a little bit of both. In the event that MELD does do well, you're able to benefit from the dynamics. And in the event that MELD maybe doesn't do as well early on, you're still able to get that reliability and that predictability with the static nodes. Links to everything will be left down below as a part of today's video. Hopefully you guys have found this to be helpful. Again, make sure to smash that thumbs up. I really do appreciate you. Consider subscribing to Dapp Central for more content like this. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, leave those down below. That said, and as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.